May 17, 2026, Mount Everest, 8,849 meters. Two climbers, same mountain, same morning. One of them stacked shelves at a grocery store 3 weeks ago. By 10 o'clock, both of them will have broken a world record. Kami Rita Sherpa has stood on this summit before, not once, not 10 times, not on any of his 31 previous ascents that already made him the most decorated high-altitude climber in human history. He holds 42 total summits across the world's 8,000-meter peaks. He has guided expeditions through the Khumbu Icefall more times than most mountaineers attempt base camp. The climbing world has one name for him: the Everest Man. But he is not alone up there. 400 meters above him, Lhakpa Sherpa is already moving through the pre-dawn dark. Not on her first attempt, not on her 5th, on her 11th. She became the first Nepali woman to summit Everest and survive in the year 2000. She has done it broke. She has done it frostbitten. She has done it as a single mother with 2 daughters waiting at home in Connecticut. Her title is the Mountain Queen. Her story is one most people have never heard. The part that stays with me, both of them broke their records on the same morning. Same mountain, same sky. This is the greatest day in Everest history. Welcome to Tourist Tragedies. How does someone become the greatest Everest climber in human history? For Kami Rita Sherpa, the answer starts in a village most people will never find on a map. Team sits at 3,800 meters above sea level in the Solukhumbu district of Nepal. It is a small cluster of stone houses tucked into a valley so remote that the nearest road is a multi-day walk away. Kami Rita was born there on January 17, 1970, the 7th of 11 children. His family shared a single room, no electricity, no running water. What there was from the moment he could walk was the mountain. His father was among the first generation of professional Sherpa guides, hired by foreign expeditions after Everest opened to outside climbers in 1950. Growing up, Kami Rita watched his father disappear toward the summit each season and return with stories of a world above the clouds. His brother, Lhakpa Rita, would eventually summit Everest 17 times. In the Sherpa tradition, the mountain was not a distant ambition. It was simply what the men in his family did. By the age of 12, Kami Rita was already working on it, not climbing, carrying, hauling expedition gear up to base camp as a porter, earning whatever a 12-year-old could earn in the shadow of the world's tallest peak. The Khumbu Icefall alone, the glacier field at the base of the standard route, where shifting ice towers collapse without warning, has killed more climbers than any other section of the mountain. Kami Rita has crossed it over 60 times. His first crossing was as a teenager with someone else's bag on his back. He made his first summit in 1994. He was 24 years old. He went back the following year, and the year after that, and every single year for the 3 decades that followed. By the time most Everest climbers are thinking about retirement, Kami Rita was just getting started. Through the 2000s and into the 2010s, he summited Everest with a consistency that had no precedent in mountaineering history. Not once a decade, not once every few years, nearly every single spring season, back on the mountain, leading clients through the same route he had memorized down to the texture of the ice. By 2018, he had summited 22 times, is at 48 years old. A number so large that the mountaineering community had essentially stopped comparing him to other climbers and started comparing him to himself. He also held 42 total summits across the world's 8,000-meter peaks: Cho Oyu 8 times, K2, Lhotse, Manaslu. That is the equivalent of standing in the death zone on a different mountain roughly every 8 months for 4 decades, and doing nearly all of it while guiding paying clients, carrying responsibility for other people's lives on top of his own. Then came the rivalry. Pasangdawa Sherpa, a younger guide from the same mountains, had been quietly building his own record. By 2023, Pasangdawa had matched Kami Rita at 26 summits. 3 days later, Kami Rita went back up and claimed 27. 5 days after that, Pasangdawa equalized again. The following morning, Kami Rita submitted for the 28th time. 2 Sherpa guides, same mountain, same week, racing each other to the top of the world. He told a journalist around that time that he planned to keep going, not just for himself, but for his family, for the Sherpa people, and for Nepal. At 55 years old, with 31 summits already behind him, and Pasang Dawa 3 behind him at 29, the record was his, the rivalry was alive, and life was exactly what he had spent 3 decades building it to be. May 17th, 2026. The spring climbing season on Everest is at its peak, a narrow window of 2 to 3 weeks each year when the jet stream lifts just enough for the summit to become reachable without being immediately fatal. Kami Rita leaves Camp 4 in the dark. Camp 4 sits at 7,900 meters, what mountaineers call the death zone. To understand what that means, consider this. At that altitude, the human body is consuming itself. There is not enough oxygen for your cells to function normally. Your brain begins to slow. Your decision-making deteriorates. Your muscles burn through reserves they cannot replenish. Every hour spent above 8,000 meters, your body is dying slightly faster than it can recover. Most climbers spend one night at Camp 4 and push immediately for the summit. They have roughly a 12-hour window before their body forces them back down. Kami Rita has done this 31 times before. He moves through the dark in a single file line of climbers, his headlamp cutting a narrow beam through the cold. The temperature at this altitude in May sits around -20 degrees Celsius. The wind, even on a calm day, strips exposed skin in minutes. He passes the balcony at 8,400 meters. He crosses the south summit. He reaches the Hillary Step, a near vertical rock face just 100 meters below the top that has turned back stronger climbers on worse days. And then the ridge opens up. At 10:12 in the morning, Nepal Standard Time, Kami Rita Sherpa steps onto the summit of Mount Everest for the 32nd time. 32. A number no human being in history has ever reached. He is 56 years old. He is actively leading a client expedition. He has just broken his own world record, the one he set 12 months ago on this exact same mountain. For a few minutes, the Everest Man stands at the top of the world. Again. Kami Rita was on his way back down the mountain by the time the second record was being broken. 400 meters above him, the mountain queen had already started her final push. Kami Rita grew up poor. Lhakpa Sherpa grew up with less than that. She was born in 1973 in the Sankhua Saba district of eastern Nepal, in a region so remote it barely appeared on maps. Her mother was a single parent. The family herded yaks across mountain terrain for income. One account of her earliest years states simply that she was born in a cave. She was one of 11 children. Growing up, Lhakpa was denied 2 things. Her brothers were not: an education and a future on the mountain. In the rural Nepal of the 1970s and 80s, girls from yak farming families did not go to school. They did not become climbers. They did not leave. The expectation was not spoken. It did not need to be. It was simply the shape of the world she was handed. She left anyway. Her first work on Everest came the same way Kami Rita's did, not as a climber, but as support. A janitor, a camp cook, someone whose name nobody wrote down. She was invisible on the mountain before she was legendary on it. In 2000, at 26 years old, Lhakpa Sherpa became the first Nepali woman to summit Mount Everest and make it back down alive. She eventually immigrated to the United States, settled in Connecticut, raised 2 daughters named Sunny and Shiny largely on her own, and survived a marriage that nearly killed her. Between Everest expeditions, she cleaned floors and stocked shelves to pay rent. The woman who has stood on the roof of the world 11 times works at a Whole Foods in West Hartford. That is the part the record books leave out. After 2000, she kept going back. Not because it was easy, not because anyone was funding her. She returned to Everest the way someone returns to the only place where the rules make sense. Every spring season she could manage, she found a way onto the mountain, scraping together expedition costs, arranging childcare for Sunny and Shiny, taking extra shifts at work, then flying back to Nepal and climbing 8,800 meters. By 2022, she had done it 10 times. 10 summits of the world's tallest mountain, more than any woman in history. To put that in perspective, Fewer than 6,000 people in all of human history have stood on that summit even once. Lhakpa Sherpa had done it 10 times, with no institutional support, no corporate sponsorship, and no formal education. That year, a filmmaker named Lucy Walker followed her up the mountain for a Netflix documentary called Mountain Queen. For the first time, the world outside mountaineering circles got to see what Lhakpa Sherpa actually was. Not just a record holder, but a woman who had rebuilt her life from nothing, twice, and still chose to climb. Her daughters watched the documentary come out. They gave interviews. Sunny and Shiny, who had spent years watching their mother leave for Everest while they stayed home in Connecticut, started to understand what she had been carrying up that mountain all along. Between the 10th summit and the 11th, Lhakpa went back to work at Whole Foods. She stocked shelves. She showed up to her shifts. She saved what she could. And somewhere in the planning for her 11th attempt, something settled into place. The record was within reach. Her daughters were proud of her. She knew exactly what she was doing and exactly why. For Lhakpa Sherpa, that was enough. She leaves Camp 4 before dawn. The same mountain, the same cold, the same death zone that has taken one in every 300 climbers who have ever attempted this route. Lhakpa Sherpa has been here 10 times before, and she knows exactly what it costs. She has summited in worse conditions than this. She has done it with frostbite already forming on her fingers. She has done it exhausted, underfunded, with no corporate name on her jacket and no camera crew waiting at the top. Tonight is no different. She moves the way she always moves on this mountain, steadily, without drama. The fixed ropes run upward into black. She follows them by feel as much as sight, just the ice, the wind, and the next step. She passes the balcony at 8,400 meters. She crosses the South Summit Ridge, where the exposure on both sides drops thousands of meters into nothing. One side is Nepal, the other is Tibet. In the dark, you cannot see either. You can only feel the wind coming off both. The Hillary Step, the final ridge, the sky beginning to lighten somewhere to the east. At 9:30 in the morning, Nepal Standard Time, Lhakpa Sherpa steps onto the summit of Mount Everest for the 11th time. 11. A number no woman in history has ever reached. She is 52 years old. She has no formal education. 3 weeks ago, she was stacking shelves at a grocery store in West Hartford, Connecticut. She stands at 8,849 meters above sea level. The world below her is clouds and silence. There is no crowd, no ceremony. Just the summit, the sky, and the knowledge that she has been here before and made it back every single time. Somewhere on the same mountain, 40 minutes behind her and still climbing, Kami Rita Sherpa is making his own final push. 2 Sherpa climbers, 1 mountain, 1 morning. By the time Kami Rita reaches the top at 10:12, both records are set. The Department of Tourism confirms both summits from its field office at base camp. The press releases go out. The mountaineering world begins to process what just happened. In Nepal, it is still morning. On the mountain, both climbers begin their descent. The hard part, as any Everest guide will tell you, is never the summit. It is the way back down. They descend the same route. They pass the same fixed ropes. They return to the same base camp, in the same valley, on the same day they rewrote history. By midday on May 17th, both climbers were off the summit and descending toward base camp. The Department of Tourism had confirmed both records. The press releases were circulating. Mountaineering outlets ran the numbers. 32 for Kami Rita, 11 for Lhakpa. Nepal had just produced the 2 greatest Everest climbers in history on the same morning. When you lay the facts of both careers in sequence, a picture begins to form that goes beyond the records themselves. Kami Rita Sherpa has spent 32 years guiding other people up a mountain that kills 1 in every 300 who attempt it. He told a journalist in 2018 that the Nepali government provides no meaningful support to Sherpa guides. That when a fellow Sherpa suffered a brain hemorrhage in Kathmandu that same year, the government offered nothing. Sherpas account for 1/3 of all Everest deaths. Kami Rita earns roughly $10,000 per expedition for leading strangers through the most dangerous terrain on Earth. Lhakpa Sherpa holds the women's record for Everest summits and also works at Whole Foods. Not because she has to in the way that suggests no other options, but because between expeditions, between the mountain and the next mountain, that is the life she built in America for her daughters. She stacked shelves 3 weeks before breaking a world record. She will stack them again. What these two careers share is a concept mountaineers call the invisible climber problem. The people who make Everest possible, who fix the ropes, carry the oxygen, guide the clients, break the trail, are overwhelmingly Sherpa. They take on the majority of the risk. They accumulate the majority of the experience, and they receive a fraction of the attention. Kami Rita has summited Everest 32 times. Most people outside mountaineering cannot name him. Lhakpa Sherpa has summited 11. Netflix made a documentary about her because without it, almost nobody knew she existed. On May 17, 2026, 2 people climbed the same mountain and broke the same records they had broken before, quietly, professionally, without drama. Kami Rita Sherpa did it because the mountain is his life's work, and Pasangdawa Sherpa is 3 summits behind him. Lhakpa Sherpa did it because she told her daughters never to stop. The Everest Man and the Mountain Queen. Same mountain, same morning, same sky.